All right. I wonder if I can set this up somewhere. All right, hey, just wanted to do a quick video here. I'm not going to wait for people to come on because there's a lot of information about what's going on in Virginia. Hey, Kevin and David. And for those of you that are going to Richmond, Virginia on Monday, the 20th, for the giant rally that's going to happen there in Virginia, the gun rights rally, I wanted to make sure y'all understood exactly what the Democrats have done already to try and undermine the rights of gun owners. AP&P, Freedom America, and Kevin Peace. Because there's a lot of misinformation online about what is allowed, what is not allowed, what the rule says, what the rule doesn't say. I've got the actual rule right here. This is the rule that was passed by Democrats. And by the way, it was passed in a way that it completely undermined the process. Members of the committee that handled this rule were not even made aware they were on the committee until literally a few hours prior to the hearing that was going to change the rules. And the Republicans, at least on the committee, did not even have a chance to look at the rules that they were about to vote on. They weren't allowed to discuss it. They weren't allowed to debate it. This is what happens when the frankly, this is what happens when Republicans and Democrats take over. This is the problem with the two-party system. I will say I think it's a little bit worse on the Democrat side, because they realize that the only way they can pass their agenda is through brute force. And if they can just get their agenda through as quickly as possible, they're not worried about losing election a little bit later. So this is what the rule actually says. First of all, it identifies firearms as, you guessed it, anything. Anything that shoots or expels a projectile or missile of any kind by action of an explosion of any combustible material, which means anything that uses black powder is considered a firearm. If it's a pistol, revolver, handgun, rifle, shotgun, automatic, semi-automatic, quote-unquote assault firearm, as defined in the Virginia Code. I'm going to talk about what that means here in Virginia. Machine gun, 3D printed gun, or similar weapon. So it would also apply to black powder as well under this rule. So yes, you're absolutely right. We need to take our country back, and Virginians need to take their state back. So Virginia Code Section 18.2-308.2 defines an assault firearm. Get this. This is what's considered an assault firearm in the state of Virginia. It's pretty much everything. Any firearm capable of holding a 20-round magazine or bigger, or can accommodate a silencer, or has a folding stock. Now, it doesn't talk about or say what a silencer is. I know what a suppressor is. I don't know what a silencer is. And the law doesn't say what a folding stock is. So is it an adjustable stock or one? Because there's a difference between a telescoping stock and a folding stock to most gun owners, and an adjustable stock is not a folding stock. A folding stock is one that folds beside the gun. You've probably seen them in AKs more than anything else. So any firearm that is capable of accepting a magazine over 20 rounds is considered an assault firearm. Pistol, shotgun, rifle, it doesn't matter. That's how Virginia law describes it. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have them. In Virginia, if you have a license, you are exempt from the 20-round requirement. So that's a little bit different. So you have to get the government permission, and they have to essentially register you as a license holder in order for that to happen. All right, so that's what they define as a firearm. So here's what the rule actually says, because there's a lot of confusion about this. The open carrying of any firearm or the possession or carrying of any concealed firearm by any person is prohibited in legislative branch offices and spaces. Entry upon a legislative branch office or space in violation of this prohibition is expressly forbidden. So You cannot open or concealed carry in the buildings or the offices. It does not include the Capitol grounds. So for those of you that are going to Richmond, and you want to carry your firearms, you can. It's legal. Now, keep in mind also in Virginia, you can open carry without a license. But if you want to conceal carry, you have to have a license. And Virginia does recognize Texas licenses. So you can open carry without a license just fine. Now, if you're going to carry a firearm that is capable of taking 20 rounds or more, you're going to need to have a license in order to not break the law here. All right. They also require the posting of signage. And anyway, that was the big discussion and debate, because I've seen some places online that said that you cannot carry even on the Capitol grounds, and some that say it only applied to the building. The rule itself that was voted on that I have in my hand, and this is dated, does it have a date? This is the General Assembly Weapons Policy, and I don't see, this is the one that was just passed, here we go. Effective, so it was adopted on January 10th and became effective January 10th at midnight. Or 10:59 or 11:59 it says. So yeah, you can carry on the grounds. The rule does not say you can't carry on the grounds. And I'm going to get into some little formalities here about this. So the posting of signs. So they do have to post signs on the building. So just because they passed the rule also requires that there will be a sign displayed at every entrance. Okay, or if the building is leased, or it's a separate office within like another building that's not a state building, a legislative building, then that office or that section has to be posted with a sign. So that's one way to get around it. Here's what's interesting. For those of you out there that want to challenge this and want to make a point, which is something I'm very good at. Oh, before I get to that, let me skip actually a little bit. You people have asked about knives as well. If you have a knife that's under 3 inches, it's perfectly legal even inside the Capitol building. But if you have a knife that's longer than 3 inches, then it's not. So there's that. Now this is what the tyrants are telling you can and can't do. Obviously, the Constitution says differently about what you can and can't do. All right. So with that said, here's how the enforcement works. Keep in mind, this is a rule. It's not the law, it's the rule. The law says, yes, you can carry in there, okay? And by the way, the rule does not make exemptions for license holders, whether you've got a Virginia license or a state that has reciprocity with Virginia. There is no difference if you've got a license that you can carry inside. So there's no exception. The only exception is for law enforcement in the execution of their duties, and that's active duty, full-time law enforcement, not retired, and military in the scope of their duties as well. Those are the only exceptions, or any hired security, or within the Pocahontas building, which is the main, are not allowed to carry inside the Capitol. They also, law enforcement's not allowed to search them. They can search all of us, but not them. So, and a law, and this is the difference. Any person found to be violating, because now the Capitol have to quote immediately remove from the Capitol building all these people who are. I'm sorry about the buffering. There's no crime there. If you refuse to leave when they try to remove you, keep in mind that's where they will try to charge you with criminal trespassing. Okay, shoot. Is it that bad? Is the buffering that bad? Let me see if I can move my phone a little bit here. All right, let me try that. I don't know if that's going to help or not. I've got a decent signal. I mean, I've got a really good signal. I don't know why it's buffering. So I'm just gonna reiterate that it's not an arrestable offense to go into the Capitol with a firearm. The rule itself even specifically says that you can only be removed from the building. Now, if you refuse to leave, if this were happening in Texas, I'll tell you what, we would send hundreds of people trying to get into the Capitol armed and force them to remove every single one of us, and probably leave. So circle of death. All right, I'm going to end. I think I've got all the points anyway, and apparently I'm buffering really bad. YouTube finally realized I'm trying to get out accurate information. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I'll try to keep up with those. But share this video, especially if you know people who are going to Virginia for the rally on the 20th. If you know people in Virginia who are going to the rally on the 20th, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and I want to make sure that y'all have the correct information. All right, guys, take care, be safe, be free. I'm going to end this buffering video before YouTube tries to censor me anymore. Take care.